Thank you very much, Ben,
Thank you.
for the presentation and for being on time. That's really smashing. And I hope now we can open debate, and I hope it will be lively to question, to make probably a radical exchange of throw the thing. But I think these are very important matters relating to the economic, financial, and even political situation of our societies. And I think something has to be done. And one of them is raising awareness. And also, even I think what is taught at our schools in finance, economics, and business needs also to be looked at, because there are many things that it seems they are not catching the reality. So the first, if we'd like to change the system, we need to understand it properly, how it works. And then we make right steps in order to, and also I think it is important to have a cooperative, attitude towards what is good for society. And we thank Ben for sharing with us what they are doing in the UK and elsewhere in Europe. And for us here in Jeddah, also the debt problem, it is a very serious problem from the realities of societies and individuals. And even there are some measures, for instance, here posed by the Saudi monetary agency, Saudi Central Bank, to restrict banks from giving more, loans to the people, for instance, that they cannot give a loan more than 33% of their annual salary. Will this good? Is not good? Will it work? So these are the issues that needs to be, I think, addressed all together with an open heart to what we agree and what we don't agree. So the floor is yours in France, and Majid, if you do have some questions and comments, please. Yes, Sylvia, go on, Majid.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ben. I think it was very, very interesting, and I think that would be very useful, as Dr. Berwafi was saying about understanding better our system. I have actually two questions or comments. Although I totally agree with the diagnosis of what the problem was, I'm not sure I share some of the solutions. I'll give you an example. In Spain, we did have, in addition to the real estate problem, we also have the fact that we have a public bank, which was the Caja de Ahorros. Caja de Ahorros were used for government to issue money. So in principle, the whole idea was for the government, through the public banks, develop the real economy, infrastructure, some of the things you mentioned. Now, to us, that was a huge problem because nobody was controlling the government for what type of investment we're doing. And we ended up, for instance, having 52 airports in Spain, out of which 10 of which haven't had yet any plane. So problem is, like, the way that the government can turn the money to the real economy is not always beneficial for the society. In this case, it was beneficial of a few people, like it was in construction companies. So what I wonder is, one side, as you say, is to transfer the money into the government. The other side is to allow the people to create different types of monies, like complementary currencies, which allow more money to be created without disrupting the official system, and allow like more goods and services to be distributed at the end. That's the purpose of any monetary system, to help the economy. I don't know what is your views on those two issues.
Yeah. So on the government making the investment. Sorry, actually, let me just.
There's an echo there.
Yeah. Okay, let me try. So on the government making the investment, Okay, sorry, I have an echo. 1 second. Let me try this. Okay. So there's an echo, so I'm going to switch my sound off. In terms of the government making the investment, there's the same risk that you always have with with the way that they spend tax money, that if the government is inefficient or they're corrupt, then they can waste this money. I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people like the idea of the citizens' dividend, which is that instead of the government choosing how to spend the money, you give it directly to every citizen. And that will, it means everybody can choose how they want to spend the money. You definitely need to make sure that politicians are really focused on the next election. So you don't want them to decide how much money to create. But at the same time, you can't really democratically allow central banks to decide how to spend that money and what to spend it on, because that's not really their role. Nothing with regards to the complementary currencies. So nothing that we're suggesting would stop people setting up complementary currencies. It's about taking the power to create money away from the banks. So at the moment, it's really, it's all with the banks. We'd like to bring the power to create the national currency back to the state. And then if people want to also set up complementary currency schemes, then we would definitely support that. We think that having more diversity in the way that the monetary system works would be a good thing. So I think they're complementary.
Excuse me, Ben. Usually we do ask the speaker to take all questions from all sides and then please answer them.
Okay.
Are you happy with that?
Let me take notes.
So, Majid,
Yeah.
do you have any other question or comment? Majid? Okay, then, France, please. Sophie?
Yes, we have a few questions as well.
Yeah, Madrid, please go on. Yes, Madrid. Can you hear us? Yes, please, go on.
Hi Ben, good morning. My name is Fatima, I'm from Madrid. I have a question. You said that private banks create money out of nothing only by making new loans. And I think this could sound a bit confusing because banks create money out of something, because they create money based on the promises that borrowers make to pay that money back. So if people don't go to the bank to ask for a loan, the power of the banks is useless in that sense. So what's wrong with that power if people use that money to invest it in productive businesses, which helps real economy, and not to speculate in financial markets? So my question is, we should control or remove the power of the banks to create money, or banks should control better the purpose of the loans they extend?
Yes, please. France?
Thank you very much for your presentation. My name is Abdel Kadir. I have two questions.
Madrid, can you cut your mic, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the first question is about, could you please give evidence that banks benefit from QE by putting the money in the financial market? In which proportion? And second question, have you the proportion between central bank creation of money and the proportion created by banks, commercial banks in general? And can you please, at the end, explain the mechanic in which or by which the 10% wealthy people earn 20% of the wealth, global wealth, and this is happening because of the sovereign bonds. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Anyone else? No questions? That's all for us. Thank you.
Are there questions from Jeddah? I can't hear anything from Jeddah.
Kaleem? I think your mics are still turned off.
Sorry.
Okay, how about now?
I can hear you.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
Okay. First, we want to thank you for this informative presentation. I want to make it very short. First point that we share all your concern about the positive money. Actually, it's have rooted in our history of economic thinking. I mean Islamic economic thinking. We think that the government should control the money and the sovereign and creating the sovereign money. So we have that in common, which push us to make a chapter for your movement here. And probably I recommend Dr. Ahmed to be in charge of coordinating on that kind of thinking. The second point is your movement is concerned about inequality of the distribution of wealth and income. What is the motivation for that according to the capitalist or the capital, the neoclassical school? They're not concerned about that. So on what way you can convince politicians and the economists to concern about inequality? The third point about the suggestion how the synergy or the benefit or the profit of creating money should be distributed. You suggest that the government will invest that on a public project. The problem is that the government go according to the politician interests, so they can deviate that not on an efficient way to benefit all the people. The second suggestion is to distribute this money among people, and the question is how you can allocate that. It should be distributed equally, regardless to the efficiency of using that money by this individual. The third point, which I suggest, or we suggest that this money should be invested or should be lending to the investment sector by the government, central bank. We do have that in our literature that the central bank can lend directly to the investment companies. So if we can circulate that money through lending directly to the business, not to the speculation or the financial sector, then it might be a better allocation in terms of creating more jobs and creating more value added. Thank you a lot.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Okay, so that's all the questions.
No, still I think we do have. Yes, Prof. Yes, we do have.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ben, I have a number of questions and comments, but I will restrict to 3 or 4 points. The most important is that you have gone the halfway. You have done only 50% of the mileage. The crisis which is caused is not only by money creation by the commercial banks, that's half of the story, of course, but the other half is the excessive debt which the governments have created. The public debt has been one of the most important reasons for all debt crises, not only the 2007-2008 crisis. Now you are giving if you want to give the authority back to the sovereigns have answered your question that you asked, what will you do if you had the power to create money? Obama will say, I'll use it to buy the next election for me. Then you said that, no, we don't want to give it to the politicians. We want to give it to a body which is transparent, which is democratic, which is accountable. What that organization will be, better than a parliament. All these characters are there in a parliament and they couldn't do it. And that's where the two parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, they fight it with each other, and they had a fiscal cliff at the end before the last election. Now the two options that you are giving, that even spend the money on public projects. Who will decide which public projects? Again, somebody, and the most democratic body is the parliament, not the central bank. And the second, give it citizen dividends. In addition to the question of Dr. Ibrahim Saati, if you give it to the dividends, then they will spend the way they want it. Where will be the public interest projects be financed by? Taxation, then you are back to the fiscal cliff. If you think that it is in the public interest, I think it may not be. Because if you distribute it equally, then the poor segments of the society will get the same proportion that the richest sectors of the society. And one of the criteria that you have used as being this program to be beneficial is that this will be more just, more equitable. If it has to be more equitable, then it should not be equal, it should be proportional to the wealth that the people there. So the questions are many. So you have opened up the debate, that is very good, but I think the answers are a long, long way ahead of us.
Thank you. Still questions, Harry Jada.
Thank you, Mr. Ben, for your excellent lecture. We have benefited with your good information. Now, as we have observed that in the current system of power of creating money is this a power of abuse or misuse. That's what we are observing actually. That's why we are coming up with the sovereign monetary system. So that's how our concern. Now, as far as your lecture is concerned, today's lecture, and also this green QE 2016, etc., etc., what we observe that actually this is basically the idea, the conceptual idea, and this information. Also, a lot of literatures written by yourself and also many other authors. For example, you have written a book, Modernizing the Money 2012, where the part 2 which provides the reform, and also this under this particular part, there is chapter 8, also transmission of the system. Both we thought that actually will provide some sort of mechanism, the action plan. But actually, when I have observed, I realized that actually it's basically this the ideas only. Now, we have another paper also written by Dr. Asad Zaman, presented in one of the conferences, coming up with an Islamic alternative. Fortunately, also since he has come up with an idea, this is an idea but not the structure yet. So to conclude here, that whatever discussion, the presentation, the papers, publication that we have received today or we observed today are basically the ideas only, not the action plan. Therefore, my concern here that we must come up with some sort of action plan now. No more ideas, no more concept. So therefore, my issues here for Mr. Ben to take note kindly that who should initiate this particular sovereign monetary system. Number 2, who has the locus standi to initiate such action plan. Thirdly, what are the mechanisms for the execution. Fourthly, the strategies. Then the risk factors, challenges, and how to overcome the challenges. Then the socio-political and eco-impact. What are the Sharia alternative? This, as we know, that Islamic finance is a very growing the chapter in the economic system. Now, what is the Sharia or the Islamic alternative to this particular sovereign monetary system? And what will be the model for the YC countries? Now, next issue here, what will be the legal frameworks in order for us to implement this particular system? And what is the action plan and the time frame? We don't want to talk talk and then we put into the, this we will throw into the dustbin. It should not be the way. We will talk, but we must come up with some sort of action plan. That within this particular time frame, we must come up with a strategy, and then we go for the approaching and we go for the implementation, etc. We must have some sort of action plan for this. Addressing, I have 3 proposals here. Number 1, to Mr. Ben. Number 1, we have to establish a research team comprising of 10 or 15 experts from different parts of the world. And this particular research team will be allocated with the sub issues that I have raised here, or maybe some other issues also, the strategic issues. And they will come up with a very, very constructive and effective solution. And then there will be time frame, maybe 6 months or 9 months or 3 months, whatever we can decide. And thirdly, once we have completed the research or the components, okay, then we will organize a colloquium or symposium to express or present or deliver the ideas, strategic plan. And then these particular ideas, once they deliver in the symposium or colloquium, should be published for the public awareness or the global awareness through the medias. So that's my concern. I really hope that Mr. Ben and also the concern, we have Dr. Ahmed, Dr. Abdurrahim, they have been also working on this particular issue, that they can come up with some sort of the action plan so that the result will be effective, inshallah. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Still.
Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Okay, yes, go on.
So that's all the questions, is it?
Yeah,
No,
I have
still
one small point.
Please.
First, I want to thank Mr. Ben for his very informative presentation, and we benefited more of it. My comment is how to review the mechanism of lending money from the central banks. In my mind, there's a very good experiment raised by Professor Yunus in Grameen Bank of the Poorest. So the poorest, they don't have collaterals so as to get money from the banks. It's based on trust and based on the chief of the civil society. They trust that this man, if we lend him very small amount of money, he will repay it. And actually, the experience proved that they are honest, they are trustworthy, and they repay the bank. So how to change this mechanism to let the segment poor to enter the bank? They are classified as non-bankers because they don't have collateral to give to the central bank. If we rechange this mechanism and we put this small money so as to start up their small business, they will create jobs, they will have a real share in the real economy. The bank of this experiment of Professor Yunus should be reanalyzed and be spread, especially in the third world here in our countries. Thank you very much.
Yes, still Ben, sorry.
Well, this is Abdullah. In creating money by lending through the banks and then destroyed when paid back. But there is interest. I don't know, Ben, if you did some work on this interest part. The destruction will not be 100%. There will be a 5% or whatever is the interest rate at that time. It remains in the system. So did you examine this interest rate effect on the same thing? Now, from our perspective, at least my understanding of Islamic economics, that we think the most important problem with economics and monetary system is the interest rate itself. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Okay. So probably we'll have the second round if time does allow us. Please go on.